Minister, this budget has been eagerly awaited to chart our way out of COVID, position the economy for the future, ensure that we transition to a zero-carbon economy over coming decades, and that we bring all the population with us. And to that point, the COVID supports the Minister announced earlier were very welcome and are still welcome, the 17.5 billion offered for those supports. And employment expected to return or grow by 275,000 jobs in 2022, and unemployment rate of 6%. But that's all dependent on the return of many businesses to full trading and profitability. And many SMEs and sole traders have taken advantage of the debt forbearance offered by Revenue. And we must remember that debt forbearance is not debt forgiveness, Minister. And to that point, I wrote to the Finance Minister asking him to speak with Revenue to reconsider making private tax demands of company directors where companies had engaged in the debt forbearance by Revenue, and hopefully that is something that you will look at. You have signalled the phasing out of employment subsidies to PUP and the EWS in April of 2022. I presume that remains dependent on us actually exiting COVID and on what DEFRA decides on October 22nd. Also, insurance and admin light were suspiciously not anywhere mentioned within the budget. You have not referenced further initiatives around these, despite the fact that many companies are still facing these challenges. So hopefully, Minister, I'd ask you to bring this back to the Finance Department. In our regional group's budget submission, we asked you to consider a tax incentive to encourage remote working for employees and employers. Unfortunately, you didn't expand that, although you did allow some subvention on vouched expenses. Not enough done, I would say to you, Minister, on that. And we also asked, will Government consider an annual report to benchmark your own department's facilitation of benchmarking, the 20% target that you have set yourselves, and perhaps you can provide some monitor to that in the House over coming months and years. Your Housing for All strategy's delivery of 33,000 new homes per annum out to 2030 were a very long way from that delivery point at present. And we had asked for an extension in our regional group submission to you, Minister, under the Help to Buy and Rebuilding Ireland home loan schemes to include second-hand properties in the refurbishment programme. You declined to look at that, and I think that's a serious mistake. This is part of revitalising and regenerating our towns and villages. This was a very easy ask, I think, and would have been something very welcomed, and unfortunately you couldn't expand yourselves to that either. I welcome your announcement on extending the relief on pre-letting expenses to landlords in the hope of returning properties to the rental market more quickly, but maybe you could also target holiday homes within that, which might encourage owners there to switch their properties into the private rental sector. I also note the reform of the present vacant site levy and the switching of zoned land tax to the Revenue Commissioners. I think that is probably the right thing to do, but I think you need to bring in reforms in terms of the collections of our local authorities for rent accruals. 22 million outstanding at the present time for Dublin City Council, Minister, while we're trying to find millions in the budgets here. The increase in adaptation grant numbers for local housing is welcome, but it's not working. I can tell you that certainly in my own local authority, people are waiting many, many months, and it's very difficult to get adaptation grants done. So announcing money does not solve the problem here. We need the capacity to deliver. I welcome the changes you're proposing to the EIS, which we in the regional group lobbied for. And I also welcome the extension of corporation tax start-up relief to new entrepreneurs. But could I point out under your introduction of an innovation equity fund in association with Enterprise Ireland, these funds have to be workable and they have to be properly thought out. A recent fund called a RETS, Enterprise Ireland Fund, which was for a capital infrastructure development, had a 3-month time window from the time it opened to the time it closed. In other words, if you made an application to do significant advancement in your factory, you had to have the whole job done and dusted and paid for and expended in 3 months. That's not a workable scheme, Minister. Under agriculture, I welcome the extension of the General Stock Relief Programme and the Young Farmer Stamp Duty Relief. But I also would like to see, and I said this to the Ministers of Finance, that the carbon levy would be directed, a portion of it would be directed for research in the area of renewable energy and certainly research on energy production on farms. There's a lot going on in the country, Minister, that this could be allied to. Also, I think we need to have refencing from the carbon levy fund within the research projects of our third level institutions and again in farm and other areas of business. In addition, part of this fund should be used to develop applied research to properly estimate the amount of carbon sequestration presently taking place on farms, which farmers are getting no credit for at present. Regarding the independent brewing and the extension of excise relief that may possibly come under the new Finance Act, I thank the Minister for taking that. I would like to see it now expedited. Under Education, Minister, I welcome the 350 new primary school teachers along with the 1165 additional SNAs. But I would point out to you, as you well know, access to psychology services to identify autism or for special educational needs remains a significant problem for parents. And I would hope that you would have some new concrete initiatives to announce around that shortly. Minister McGrath also referenced capital budgets for new school builds, and these are taking far too long, Minister, and costing far too much. And I think, again, we need to have fast-tracked, on-the-table designs for new schools, something that's been done and costed. Just look for planning for that and build that, and you know what the price of it is. I welcome the increases announced in higher education and training courses, but again, these need to be targeted at the needs of the economy. The targeted funding of healthcare, I've already pointed out how it's basically completely underfunded in our Category 4 hospitals, particularly University Hospital Waterford. We need more frontline positions created, Minister, not time and motion people, not managers, frontline health service people. And we need the introduction of integrated technologies. So all in all, Minister, I think I'll use a catchphrase from your party before, a lot done, more to do in terms of this budget.